I'm in Shenandoah National Park in the Southern District. This is pretty far south, mile marker 94. This is Turk Gap. There's Skyline Drive, and the Appalachian Trail crosses the mountain here at Turk Gap, and so does an old road that was here before the park was ever formed. That's looking to the west, and I am going to hike down that road. It's called Turk Gap Road now anyway, so we're going to follow that on down towards to the west, to the bottom of the mountain, to an old mining town called Crimora, Virginia. The Crimora mine was a large open pit manganese mine that closed up years ago, and the holes in the ground are now full of water, and so there's a couple of lakes there now. But there's a nice parking area here at Turk Gap. There's my little red car. Look at that, there's another little red car. And the road continues on over the side of the mountain to the east. More parking. So I'm going to close up my car, and we're going to go down here to Skyline Drive, and right over there, that concrete signpost is where the Appalachian Trail is, and it's also the way I'm going to hike down the Fire Road. Just started down the old Turk Gap Road. Boy, this is one of the really old ones. Just basically an old wagon road. I don't see any gravel or any sort of improvements whatsoever on this road. So, nice little road to hike down. I'm a half mile into the hike. I'm down to 2430 on elevation, and I have to take back something I said earlier. If you look down there, you'll see there actually is some gravel. There are some, like right here, there are some spots along this road where the gravel is there, and in the other spots, I don't know if it was washed away or maybe it just got covered up by leaves and stuff. But and also over here on the downhill side of the road, there are some areas where they actually reinforce the shoulder of the road with stones and things. So there is some evidence of stonework along the road here. 1.3 miles into my hike. I'm down to 2,000 feet elevation. There's the road, that's where I'm headed. The old Turk Gap Road. Look at this, isn't this special? There's a little, little pull off here. Look at that. Man, that's crazy. I don't know, maybe they put it in here back when they built the road in case two vehicles met or something. One of them could pull over here. But check it out. It's all armored up here. All these rocks and things. Wow, that's where it came from, up there. And according to this map, there is a benchmark, a survey benchmark, U.S. Geological Survey benchmark down here. A couple more tenths of a mile. When I get down there, I'm going to see if I can find it. I have a knack for finding them, trust me. There's where I came from, and I came around this bend. I knew I was fairly close to the location of this benchmark. The write-up said it was 6 feet off to the east of the center line of the road, and in a quartz outcropping. So there's your quartz outcropping. And maybe you can tell I did a bunch of digging. It wasn't visible. I walked past it the first time and I came back and started poking around and finally found it under about 2 inches of moss and pine needles. That's what it looked like before. And then you get rid of the pine needles and you're down to this stuff, and then you dig down another inch or two. And there it was right there. So I'll mark that with my GPS. And I don't think, from looking in the Geological Survey database, I don't think anybody's ever reported locating this one. So I'll go in tonight and log in and report it found with an accurate GPS position. .9 miles into my hike, I'm down to 1,725 feet, and I just walked out of the park. There's where I came from, down Turk Gap Road, and over here, maybe you can see some red blazing on the tree, and it says U.S. Boundary National Park Service. And then there's a road that heads up to the east that way. And then the Turk Gap Road continues on down this way, down to the Crimora area where the mines were. I'm debating whether to go any further or not. I don't see any no trespassing signs, so maybe it's okay if I walk down here. But anyway, I'll mark the park boundary here because my GPS track may show me going a little further. And then after that, I'm going to turn around and head back up to Skyline Drive. This is a nice little hike. It's short. It's only, how far did I say I went? It's only like 2 miles each way, so it's a 4-mile hike. But it's a nice old road. I may wander down here just a little further. If I can see the ponds from the mine, I'll get pictures of them. 2.1 miles into my hike, I'm down to 1,640 feet, and this is where the old Turk Gap Road ends. That's a modern, maintained gravel road there. We'll have to look that up on Google Earth when we get home, see what that is. I'm sure that eventually heads down to where the mines were. The really odd thing is this road is not, here's where I came from. This road is not chained off. There's no signage, nothing. But from here on, I'm real sure this is not on park land. So I'm going to turn around and head back up. On my way home, I'm actually going to, instead of driving back Skyline Drive, I'm going to go into Waynesboro and then come up US 340 to this same area, except over there just a little ways, and look for an old covered bridge, which is in Crimora, right there by the mines. But for now, I'm going to head on back up towards Skyline Drive. Okay, I just walked inside the park boundary, and there is a big concrete lined hole in the ground, and I'm sure that's where the gate was. It was probably a gate that was hinged on one side only, because there's no corresponding concrete hole over here or any other kind of a post. So this might have been one of those gates where, or who knows, maybe that was from the really old days when it was like a turnpike and you had to pay to come up here. But there was probably a big post sunk down in that concrete, and then there was a hinged gate that came across here and blocked the road, and there could have been a small post over here sunk in the ground to latch it to. So yeah, there was a gate here many years ago. I guess when they pulled it out, the Park Service just said to hell with it. If somebody wants to come up this road, let them try. Good luck getting to the top. Anyway, that's where I came from. I noticed, looking out that way, that's privately owned over there, and I see some grass over there and some buildings. So there's somebody lives over there. And here's looking inside the park, heading back up the road to Skyline Drive. Climbing the mountain. I'm 3.4 miles into my hike, and I'm up to a 2280 elevation, and I'm up on the ridge line now. All I have to do is just follow the ridge up to Skyline Drive. It's about another half a mile. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Crimora 1997, and I hiked the Turk Gap Trail down the west side of the mountain. This is actually an old fire road that predates Shenandoah National Park. This red line here is Skyline Drive coming down from the north. I got on from Standardsville, Virginia, came up the east side of the mountain at Swift Run Gap. So you come down until you get to mile marker 94, and just south of that, right here at Turk Gap, is where you park. There's a pretty good sized parking lot over here on the east side of the road. Now there's a bunch of stuff going on here at Turk Gap. You've got this road, this old road coming up from Crimora, Virginia. It came up like this, and then this is before Skyline Drive was put in. It came up here, and it actually came down here same way Skyline Drive does, around this bend here, and then it took off down the east side of the mountain in a zigzag fashion down that way. And you can hike the east side. I can't remember what they call that nowadays, but it goes down to the South Fork of Mormons River, down near Charlottesville. And also, you've got the Appalachian Trail coming up from the south this way. It comes up through here and it crosses Turk Gap right here, and then it heads on up this way, following the boundary between these two counties. Also, from Turk Gap, you can come get on the AT for a short distance and then get off, and you can hike this Turk Mountain Trail, which takes you around and eventually puts you up here on top of Turk Mountain. So there's a bunch of hikes available right here at Turk Gap. But anyway, you cross over from the parking lot, you cross over Skyline Drive, and you'll see a concrete signpost, and you can either head left or head right. If you head left, that takes you on the Appalachian Trail. If you turn right, it takes you on a little connector trail that's just below Skyline Drive here, and until you get about to this bend, and then you end up actually on the old road. Okay, when they put Skyline Drive in up here, what they did was they blocked this off, and they created just a little connector trail that comes over this way and comes right up here, same spot where the AT crosses. So you just hike this thing down the side of the mountain. Now about halfway down, you'll see a little turnoff. They put a little turnoff right here on the south side of the road, I guess, so that if people were, using this road back in the old days, I mean, if you get halfway down the road and you meet somebody coming up the other way, somebody's got to do something. So they put this little turnoff here, I think. That's my theory anyway, which if you ran into somebody coming the other way, the worst that would have to happen is somebody'd have to just come to the halfway point and pull off. So anyway, you keep hiking down here. When you get down about in here somewhere, you can start to see views down here into the Shenandoah Valley. Continue on down the side of the mountain. When you get to here, you'll see it says BM 1866. That's a U.S. Geological Survey benchmark, and that's the elevation in feet, 1,866 feet. So I got a printout from the online database that described the location of this place, and this one was kind of hard to find. First of all, you don't know if they're actually still there or not. Sometimes if they're easily found, then vandals tend to they try to pry them up and steal them, I guess. Because I've seen some where people have pried them up. I've seen others where they tried to pry it up and finally gave up, and when what they left was just all bent up and mangled and defaced. But this one was in pristine condition because it was buried under pine needles and dirt and roots. So it's well preserved. I had a hard time finding it, but it's there. And I gave you some pictures of that. Then you come on down here. Now when you get here, down to here, you've got to really be watching, or you'll end up down here on private property and not even know it. But I did see the blazing on the trees, and there was a sign nailed to the trees to indicate the park boundary. Actually, this road comes up here, and somebody has put in another road or trail on private property that goes over like that. Okay, and there's a residence here, and you'll see some grass and some buildings here through the trees. Now, it says there's a gate here. I did not see a gate. So anyway, but when I got to here, I knew I was at the park boundary from looking at the sign on the trees. I decided to go ahead and follow this on down to here. Now here, what happens is the old road just dead ends onto a regular gravel road that's not even shown here. Somebody put in a gravel road. Right here, this area here is where the Crimora Mines were. They were manganese mines. And from the write-ups online, this was the largest producer of manganese in the United States at the time. And they were open, let's see, I don't know if I have it on the back here. No, I didn't write it down here, but it was open from sometime in the 1800s into the mid 1900s, and then they closed the mine. And these ponds here, they're showing two of them here, but there's a few others. Well, here's another one here. What happens is these were open pit mines, and then when they are abandoned, then they just eventually fill up with water and turn into ponds. So that's what you've got now. And Crimora, Virginia is over this way to the west just a little bit. When I got done hiking, I went down to Waynesboro, and then I drove up the Shenandoah Valley on US 340, came into Crimora and came over this way. And over here somewhere off this map, there's an old covered bridge, which is actually on the old road, which is the entrance to the mines. It's closed off now. The bridge is closed off. You can't drive over it because what they've done in this area is they've turned it into a resort. They've built some sort of resort facility in here now. And so when they did that, they closed off access to the covered bridge. But you can drive to the location of the covered bridge and get out of your car and take pictures there. I included some pictures of that also. So then from here I turn around, back up. Now on the way back up, when I got here to where it says gate, I actually did eventually find the hole in the ground that used to contain the support for the gate. So it was one of those gates that was hinged on just one side. So I don't know, that could have, and it looked really old, so it could have been from way before the park was formed. That gate there, I believe, was probably there before the 1930s, before Shenandoah Park was formed, because the other roads in the park that were open with no gates, when they created the park, the Park Service, what they did was they went in and they sunk these steel poles on both sides of the road to fill them with concrete. So it's steel poles in the ground in concrete and filled with concrete, and then they just hang a chain across the road with a with a padlock with a key on it, and that allows the Park Service to actually use the road if they need to. But this doesn't look like it ever had the steel post with a chain. It had this concrete hole in the ground, so I think it was one of these gates that just was hinged on one side and swung open, maybe even a turnpike kind of thing from the old days. Anyway, I got pictures of that, and then basically just hiked back up to my car here at Turk Gap. Nice hike. It's short, family friendly, no problems with that. The road is pretty well preserved. There's not really any views, though. Very occasionally you get a view to the west, but that's about it. But it's a nice road. There's a lot of bird activity down there and so forth. And if you want to try and find the benchmark, go ahead. I covered it back up the way and left it pretty much the way I found it. And that was the hike for today.